The silver handcuffs glinted in the afternoon sunlight as Officer Derek Martinez approached the sleek black Mercedes-Benz S-Class. His hand rested confidently on his holster, his chest puffed with the authority of 15 years on the force. "Step away from the vehicle, now." His voice boomed across the courthouse parking lot, causing heads to turn from every direction. Dr. Alicia Thompson stood beside her car, dressed in an elegant navy blazer and pearls, her briefcase containing case files that would determine the fate of 3 death row inmates. At 42, she carried herself with a quiet dignity of someone who had spent 18 years dispensing justice from the bench. What Officer Martinez didn't know, what he couldn't have imagined in his worst nightmare, was that he was about to arrest the chief judge of the Superior Court, the woman who had presided over his testimony in dozens of cases. The same judge who, in exactly 23 minutes, would be delivering the verdict in the most high-profile police corruption case in the city's history. "Mum, place your hands on the hood of the vehicle," Martinez commanded, his voice carrying the absolute certainty of someone who had never been wrong. This car was reported stolen from Beverly Hills 3 hours ago. Flashback to 3 hours earlier, Judge Alicia Thompson had been in her chambers reviewing the final details of State v. Captain Robert Hayes, a landmark police corruption case that had divided the city. Hayes, a decorated 25-year veteran, stood accused of planting evidence, taking bribes, and covering up misconduct that had sent innocent people to prison. The case had attracted national attention. Civil rights groups demanded justice, the police union claimed persecution. Political careers hung in the balance, and Judge Thompson held the deciding vote in a case that would either restore faith in the justice system or confirm the public's worst fears about corruption. Her phone had buzzed with a text from her daughter. "Mom, taking your car to UCLA for my interview." "Mine's in the shop, thanks," Alicia smiled, remembering her own law school days. Sarah was following in her footsteps, destined for greatness. The Mercedes had been a gift to herself when she was appointed to the bench, a symbol of how far she'd come from the housing projects of South Central LA. She grabbed her backup car keys. The 2019 Honda Civic wasn't as luxurious, but it would get her to the afternoon verdict delivery. What she didn't know was that Sarah, running late for her interview, had parked the Mercedes in Beverly Hills and rushed into the law school without properly locking it. "Officer, there's been a misunderstanding," Judge Thompson said calmly, her voice carrying the authority that had commanded courtrooms for nearly 2 decades. "This is my personal vehicle." Martinez circled the Mercedes like a predator studying prey. The math didn't add up in his prejudiced mind. A black woman in professional attire plus a $95,000 luxury car equaled theft. His 15 years of street experience had taught him to trust his instincts. "Ma'am, I'm going to need to see registration, insurance, and proof of purchase for this vehicle," he said, loud enough for the growing crowd of courthouse employees to hear. "And I'll need an explanation for how you came to possess a car that costs more than most people make in 2 years. Court reporter Janet Mills emerged from the courthouse, immediately recognizing Judge Thompson. Her mouth opened to call out, but Martinez's aggressive posture made her hesitate. She pulled out her phone and began recording. "The documents are in my briefcase," Judge Thompson replied, maintaining her professional composure despite the humiliation burning in her chest. "I'll retrieve those for evidence," Martinez said, reaching for her briefcase. "Standard procedure for stolen vehicle recovery. Officer, that briefcase contains confidential case files protected by judicial privilege. You cannot." "Ma'am, if you have nothing to hide, you shouldn't object to a search," Martinez interrupted, his hand now resting on his handcuffs. "I've got probable cause for vehicle theft and obstruction of justice if you keep interfering with my investigation." A crowd began forming in the courthouse parking lot. Lawyers, clerks, reporters, and court officers gathered, their phones emerging like weapons. The tension was electric, everyone sensing they were witnessing something unprecedented. Maria Santos, a young public defender, pushed through the crowd. She recognized Judge Thompson immediately, the woman who had mentored her through her first trial, who had shown patience when she'd stumbled through legal procedures. "Officer Martinez," Maria called out. "That's Judge." "Ma'am, step back," Martinez barked without turning around. "This is police business. Interfere again and you'll be arrested for obstruction." Judge Thompson's phone buzzed insistently. Chief Justice Williams calling. The verdict delivery was scheduled for 2 p.m. It was now 1:47 p.m. The courtroom would be packed with media, attorneys, and the family of victims whose cases depended on the Hayes corruption verdict. Officer Martinez, Judge Thompson said, her voice taking on the tone she used for unruly attorneys, I need you to listen very carefully. I'm Judge Alicia Thompson of the Superior Court Criminal Division. This is my personal vehicle. I have legitimate business at this courthouse, and you are preventing me from performing my judicial duties. Martinez laughed at her statement. Lady, I've heard every sob story in the book. Judge Thompson, he shook his head mockingly. Judge Thompson is a 60-year-old white man. I've testified in his courtroom dozens of times. The mistake hit like a thunderbolt. Martinez had confused her with Judge Harold Thompson, the recently retired civil court judge. His assumptions about race, age, and gender had created a perfect storm of ignorance. You're thinking of Harold Thompson, Civil Division, Judge Thompson corrected. I am Alicia Thompson, Criminal Division. The courtroom where you testified in People v. Rodriguez, People v. Jackson, and People v. Martinez, no relation. Martinez's confidence flickered for just a moment, but his pride wouldn't let him back down. Anyone can claim to be anyone. I need proof, and stolen car reports don't lie. He pulled out his handcuffs with theatrical authority. Ma'am, you're under arrest for grand theft auto and impersonating a public official. Stop right there. The voice cut through the parking lot like a gunshot. Captain Jennifer Walsh emerged from the courthouse, her 20 years of law enforcement experience immediately recognizing a career-ending disaster in progress. Martinez, what the hell are you doing? Walsh demanded, pushing through the crowd. Captain, I've got a stolen vehicle recovery and the suspect is claiming to be a judge, Martinez replied, his handcuffs inches from Judge Thompson's wrists. Captain Walsh looked at Judge Thompson, recognition dawning in her eyes. She'd testified in Thompson's courtroom just last month in a domestic violence case. The judge's calm demeanor under pressure, her precise legal questions, her reputation for fairness, it was unmistakable. Officer Martinez, lower your handcuffs immediately, Walsh ordered. But Captain, the stolen car report. Officer Martinez, you are attempting to arrest Judge Alicia Thompson of the Superior Court, the same judge who has presided over dozens of cases involving our department. The same judge who is supposed to deliver the Hayes corruption verdict in ... double quotes. Walsh checked her watch. 11 minutes. The color drained from Martinez's face like water from a broken dam. The crowd pressed closer. Court reporter Janet Mills had been live streaming on Facebook for the past 6 minutes. The viewer count climbed 1,247, 2,893. 5,672 comments flooded and faster than eyes could follow. This can't be happening. Cop about to arrest a judge. This is insane. Career suicide in real time. Judge Thompson remained perfectly still, her hands no longer on the car hood but at her sides in a posture that radiated judicial authority. Her years of experience dealing with hostile attorneys and unruly defendants had prepared her for moments like this. Captain Walsh, Judge Thompson said, her voice carrying the weight of 18 years on the bench, Officer Martinez has violated my Fourth Amendment rights, threatened me with false arrest, attempted to search confidential judicial documents, and prevented me from performing my constitutional duties. She pulled out her judicial identification, the gold seal catching the afternoon's sunlight. Perhaps Officer Martinez would like to examine my credentials now. Martinez stared at the ID card, his career flashing before his eyes. 15 years of service, 2 years from retirement eligibility, pension benefits, health care coverage, everything suddenly hanging by a thread. Judge Thompson, there was a stolen car report ... Officer Martinez, Judge Thompson interrupted, the stolen car report you referenced. What was the license plate number? Martinez fumbled for his radio. Dispatch, Unit 47, requesting confirmation on the stolen Mercedes license number. Unit 47, stolen vehicle is license plate 7GKJ9-8, black Mercedes S-Class. Judge Thompson reached into her purse and produced her car keys, pointing to the key fob. Officer Martinez, what is the license number on my vehicle? Martinez looked at the car. The license plate read, to HTMP 5-1, not even close. The crowd realized they had just witnessed a police officer attempt to arrest a sitting judge based on nothing more than racial profiling and assumptions. No matching license plate, no actual evidence. Just prejudice wrapped in authority. Officer Martinez, Judge Thompson said, her voice carrying the quiet power that had decided thousands of legal cases, you attempted to arrest me without verifying basic facts. You assumed criminal activity based solely on my race and gender. You threatened to search confidential judicial documents. You prevented a sitting judge from performing constitutional duties. She paused, letting each accusation sink in. But most importantly, you did all of this while I was preparing to deliver a verdict in a police corruption case that will determine whether this community trusts law enforcement to police itself. The irony hit the crowd like a physical blow. Martinez had potentially influenced the very case designed to address police misconduct through his own misconduct. Captain Walsh activated her radio. All units, Captain Walsh requesting immediate supervisory response to courthouse parking lot. Priority 1. Within minutes, 3 more police cars arrived. Lieutenant Colonel James Foster, a 28-year veteran with a reputation for accountability, emerged from the lead vehicle. His assessment of the situation was swift and devastating. Thompson, he said, recognizing the judge immediately, Your Honor, I apologize for whatever has occurred here. Colonel Foster, Judge Thompson replied, Officer Martinez attempted to arrest me for driving my own vehicle. He assumed I had stolen it, refused to verify basic information, and threatened me with handcuffs based solely on racial profiling. Foster's jaw tightened. He'd spent years rebuilding community trust after previous scandals. One officer's prejudice could undo decades of progress. Martinez, report to headquarters immediately, Foster ordered. You're suspended pending investigation. Sir, I was following protocol. Protocol. Judge Thompson's eyebrows rose with the same expression she used when questioning dubious testimony. Officer Martinez, what protocol instructs you to arrest someone without matching the license plate to the stolen vehicle report? Martinez opened his mouth, but no sound emerged. What protocol allows you to search judicial documents without a warrant? Silence. What protocol permits you to detain a judge reporting for constitutional duties based on assumptions about race and car ownership? The questions landed like legal precision strikes, each one exposing another layer of misconduct. Janet Mills' Facebook live stream had exploded to 47,000 viewers. News crews were en route, the courthouse steps filled with employees watching the drama unfold. Judge Thompson checked her watch, 1:56 p.m. Colonel Foster, I have a verdict to deliver in 4 minutes. The Hayes corruption case cannot be delayed further. The mention of the Hayes case sent a chill through every law enforcement officer present. Their colleagues' fate and the public's trust in police accountability hung in the balance. Your Honor, Foster said, will handle this situation immediately. Martinez, surrender your badge and service weapon. Martinez's hands shook as he removed his badge, the piece of metal that had defined his identity for 15 years. His service weapon followed, placed on the hood of a patrol car like evidence at a crime scene. Officer Martinez, Judge Thompson said, or rather, former Officer Martinez, you have a choice to make. You can accept responsibility for your actions and learn from this experience, or you can deny what everyone here witnessed and face the full legal consequences. She opened her briefcase, producing a small digital recorder. I've been recording this entire encounter for potential legal proceedings. California law permits single-party consent recording of police interactions. Your words, your actions, your assumptions, all documented. Martinez's face went ashen. A recording of his misconduct would end any hope of appealing his termination or finding security work elsewhere. Judge Thompson, Colonel Foster said, what would constitute appropriate resolution of this incident? It was a question that would define not just Martinez's fate, but the department's relationship with the community it served. Judge Thompson looked around the crowd, young lawyers, seasoned court officers, reporters, citizens, all waiting to see if justice would be served or swept under the bureaucratic rug. Colonel Foster, this incident represents a teachable moment. Officer Martinez's actions demonstrate the dangerous intersection of racial bias and abuse of authority. But punishment without education serves no one. She turned to address Martinez directly. "You have three options, and your choice will determine not only your future but serve as an example for officers across this state." The crowd leaned forward. Social media exploded with anticipation. This was justice in real time, broadcast 2000s. Option 1. Accept full responsibility, complete 200 hours of bias training, and serve as a case study for police academy reforms. Testify before the state legislature about the dangers of racial profiling. Keep your pension but forfeit any future law enforcement career. Martinez's eyes widened. Option 1 offered dignity through accountability. Option 2. Resign immediately with full benefits, acknowledging that your mindset represents outdated policing that has no place in modern law enforcement. Avoid criminal charges but accept permanent barring from any security or law enforcement position. Option 2 provided escape with consequences. Option 3. Face federal investigation under Title 42, Section 1983 for civil rights violations. Risk criminal prosecution, civil liability, and complete loss of benefits. Fight the charges and potentially face prison time. Option 3 meant legal warfare with uncertain outcomes. You have 60 seconds to decide. Your choice will be binding and public. The parking lot fell silent except for the whisper of wind and the distant hum of traffic. Martinez's career, his reputation, his family's financial security, everything balanced on one decision. Janet Mills' live stream viewers climbed past 75,000. News helicopters circled overhead. The story was going national before Martinez had even processed his options. Double quotes Martinez began, his voice cracking. "I choose option 1. I'll take responsibility. I'll do the training. I'll testify about what I did wrong." The crowd erupted in surprised murmurs. Accountability was rare in police misconduct cases. Usually officers fought charges until the end. Judge Thompson nodded with the measured approval she reserved for defendants who accepted responsibility. "Officer Martinez, your choice demonstrates the possibility of growth through accountability. However, this agreement requires immediate implementation and measurable outcomes." She produced a document from her briefcase, a memorandum of understanding she drafted during their conversation. "This contract outlines your training requirements, legislative testimony schedule, and ongoing accountability measures. Your compliance will be monitored by civilian oversight and reported quarterly to the state attorney general." Colonel Foster stepped forward. "Judge Thompson, our department will implement whatever additional reforms you recommend to prevent future incidents." Colonel Foster, this incident reveals systematic training failures that require systematic solutions. She handed him a second document, a comprehensive reform proposal. Mandatory bias training for all officers, civilian oversight of misconduct investigations, body cameras for all interactions, and quarterly community forums where citizens can voice concerns directly to leadership. The reforms weren't suggestions, they were requirements backed by judicial authority and public scrutiny. 6 months later, the police academy training room buzzed with uncomfortable energy as 150 cadets watched former Officer Derek Martinez take the podium. His uniform had been replaced by civilian clothes, his badge by a visitor's pass. "My name is Derek Martinez," he began, his voice steady despite the weight of confession. 6 months ago, I nearly destroyed my career and violated the constitutional rights of a sitting judge because of prejudices I didn't even know I carried." The room fell silent. Real police officers rarely admitted mistakes, especially publicly. "I saw a black woman with an expensive car and assumed criminality. I refused to verify basic facts because my assumptions felt more reliable than evidence. I attempted to arrest Judge Alicia Thompson, a sitting judge, because I couldn't imagine a black woman legitimately owning a Mercedes-Benz." He clicked to his first slide, showing the courthouse parking lot video that had gone viral. This video has been viewed 2.3 million times. It's been shown in police academies, law schools, and civil rights seminars across the country. It represents everything wrong with policing based on bias instead of evidence. Cut to Judge Thompson's chambers. Judge Thompson reviewed the quarterly report on police reform implementation. The numbers told a story of systematic change. Bias training completion, 94% of all officers. Body camera compliance, 100% in traffic stops. Civilian complaints down 67%, community trust surveys up 45%. Use of force incidents down 34%. Her phone buzzed with a text from her daughter's era, "Mom, got into UCLA law." Following in your footsteps, the Mercedes is finally fixed too. Alicia smiled, remembering that afternoon when prejudice had threatened to derail justice. Instead, it had accelerated reform. Martinez stood before the California Senate Judiciary Committee delivering testimony that would influence statewide police reform legislation. Senators, unconscious bias isn't limited to individual officers. It's embedded in training that teaches us to see threats instead of citizens, suspects instead of community members. When I saw Judge Thompson, I didn't see a distinguished jurist. I saw stereotypes that 15 years of poor training had burned into my mind. Senator Maria Rodriguez leaned forward. "Mr. Martinez, what specific changes do you recommend to prevent future incidents?" Mandatory bias training from day one of academy instruction. Community immersion programs where officers live and work in the neighborhoods they'll patrol. Civilian oversight with real authority to investigate and discipline misconduct. His testimony helped pass Senate Bill 1847, the Police Accountability and Community Trust Act, mandating statewide implementation of bias training and civilian oversight. 1 year later, Judge Thompson stood on the same courthouse steps where news crews had gathered to report her near arrest. This time, she was announcing the establishment of the Judicial Excellence and Police Accountability Foundation. This foundation will provide scholarships for young people pursuing careers in law enforcement and criminal justice, she told the gathered crowd. But scholarship recipients must commit to serving communities with dignity, respect, and accountability. In the crowd, Derek Martinez listened with his wife and teenage daughter. His year of training, testimony, and community service had transformed him from a symbol of police misconduct into an advocate for reform. Captain Walsh, now Police Chief Walsh, approached the microphone. Judge Thompson's grace under pressure and commitment to education over punishment has transformed our department. We're not the same police force that nearly arrested a sitting judge. We're better because she demanded better. As the ceremony ended, Martinez approached Judge Thompson. "Your Honor, I wanted to thank you for giving me a chance to make this right." "Officer Martinez," she replied, using his preferred title despite his civilian status, "you chose accountability over defensiveness. That choice created more change than any punishment could have achieved." The encounter in a courthouse parking lot became a catalyst for statewide police reform. Judge Thompson's dignity under pressure proved that justice delayed is not always justice denied. Sometimes it's justice improved through education and accountability. Officer Martinez's choice to accept responsibility and advocate for change shows that even our worst moments can become opportunities for growth. The story of a near arrest that became a blueprint for reform, proving that sometimes the most humiliating moments create the most meaningful transformations. When we choose accountability over defensiveness, education over punishment, we build a justice system worthy of the communities it serves.